And just when you thought, guys, it probably would not improve this quickly, Plarium has done us all a quick one. Welcome back to the channel. This is your girl, Wicked Raider. Just wanted to drop in and do a quick update on this year's free to play. Did a login. I've been doing a couple of multi battles on this one and had a chance to look at the Chronicle video. This is absolutely adorable. I will be honest. I will be so honest with you. Just a good way to kind of see your stats and share it to yourself and kind of keep it saved and tucked away. Definitely going to download that one. Like, I just thought it was absolutely just nice. So fourth anniversary is what now officially seems as though it's in full swing. And as a newer player, it's my first time making it to the anniversary portion of the game. So it's really interesting to kind of see what's going on. Of course, the fragment summons is the big thing. I have had a chance to watch a couple of videos. I know a few people in my clan are definitely pushing to get every single fragment possible to be able to do the summons, running through dungeons. And you guys can see on this one, just logging in for myself and getting started. But got a little time in there. Dungeon divers is always a good one, no matter the level, whatever level you can possibly run. Like, especially if you're on that account, you just started, January 1, guys, run it. Just go ahead and run that account. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. Looking at the rewards, it's always been daunting for me to get to 3,000. On this one, I know that I can run the dungeons. Sometimes I'm running at a decent level, but I am more here. Sometimes I can make it to 1,800, but that push to 3,000 is a big one. Now, there are a couple of key things to keep in mind. For example, keep an eye on who you are. For example, you have Spider going, right? Of course, if I'm going to run Spider, that would be even better because I'm running a 2-for-1 kind of moment. You can get that additional fragment here. If I'm a little bit more capable, then I'm going to go this route instead. The other thing you're keeping in mind is look at the number of points. So if you happen to place first, you still get those 5 fragments that you may not have been able to achieve in another area. Now, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. So if you have looked over the specifics of when the drops are, when the fragments are available, you've got to be really meticulous with it. And so for me, along the way, things like this are a lot more interesting for me. It gives me a little bit of cushion. So there's going to be a huge focus. But guys, look, there's no way, so you've got to kind of pick your battles. Getting champions by any means is a focus. It's a good one. Pushing for books. Whenever I see books, I get extremely excited. And I think a lot of us are like that. I appreciate the energy. I definitely need the extra XP, but even just sitting here at this new of an account, it's nice to know that as I'm pushing through, I've got a few things to look forward to. So there is a lot going on in the game. Now, as far as the focus for me on this particular account, I've been trying to really put together my first initial team, and I'm still struggling there. I pulled a couple of champions that I'll be using as food. I pulled some champions I haven't heard about. And this is one guy, Cage Bound. Boy champions are always interesting to me. And for quite a while, I couldn't figure out why they were always so, how do you put it? You could really feel the emotions behind the expectation of the Void Champion. And I mean, I get it with all of the synergy that has to take place as far as battles, who's going to compete best against the other ones. But when you guys are picking out champions and you're putting in and building a new team, because I know some of us are running multiple teams at this point, what's your rationale behind which champions you're going to use? How do you kind of mix in a champion, for example, you may not be familiar with? This guy has 59 reviews. So in most of the reviews, he's 4 or better, excluding a couple of dungeons, which a lot of these I'm not really big on. So, okay, good. So I put a little gear on him. And I'll lock him down for a second, but let's take a look at his kit, because I don't have very many void champions, but for some reason I have a ton of void, potions. So if I have all these little bottles and these potions, it's like, well, I might as well just, drop him in and see what he does. And that's kind of what it feels like when you get a void champion. Some of us just build them because we have all this stuff built up in the events we ever get one, because you are acquiring it as you are running other champions for other purposes. So when it comes to cage bound, we're looking at Twisted Spike. So attacks one enemy, places a shield buff on this champion for one turn, equal to 10% of their max HP. And he's a defense-based champion. First skill is going to require 4 books. That would increase that an additional 20%. So, okay. Attacks all enemies for a sword break cage. Has a 75% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Okay. Now, I always love an AoE attack. I'm always big on those. It still doesn't require very many books. You can get this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Add an additional 10% of damage, and we can also take the 75% chance to 100% chance. And I'm pretty sure on Cage Bound, this may be, depending on who you are battling against, if you are stuck in dungeons, because dungeons for me, Spider has been one. I've always, really had to work at configuring teams, and I do probably a lot more movement as I progress through Spider than anywhere else. And maybe that's the way it should be. I've seen a couple of videos before where they've gone through and talked about like which dungeons people, usually finish first. I found Minotaur's Labyrinth to be the easiest one to defeat first. I found the Red Keep to be the easiest one to go through and complete first. The blue one was another one that I didn't really struggle with in the beginning, like to those last little stages. And honestly, you just win by a whim. But I start thinking about, these types of skills when it comes to the decrease and the increase and it's important. And when you have a champion that's a defense-based champion, you can build them extremely tanky. So it's something to keep in mind. Now here we go. Bound to Serve places a 25% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. If we ascend this skill, it'll place a 25% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, plus places a 15% continuous heal buff on this champion for 1 turn. So they would take a 15% boost if we were to ascend them, which shouldn't be too hard to do. This can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown, which that's not bad. It's not, I don't think it's going to hit me as the strongest in the world kind of, moments. But I think I'm gonna, Cage Bound is one of those that I would put, and I put gear on this champion just for that simple reason. And we'll eventually, guys, get back to where we were. So anyway, as I'm looking through, what I'm gonna do is actually pull the areas in which I am probably best able to make some progress. On this particular account, I have not ran Spider very much at all. Level 2. So this should be a really good one. And I'll tell you guys now, this is going to be a shaky one because I really don't have a lot of champions on this new of an account that I am just jumping up and down. We're level 9. So I'm going to run him back there just to kind of see. I have been running these champions, trying to build levels, of course, and so I can get some 6 stars on this account, especially. But I want to work a different kind of team. I've been pushing myself not to use champions other than those, login champions. Some of those I actually do look forward to acquiring on this account for particular reasons. But I've been pushing myself to use champions that I don't have other places. And the benefit of being able to run multiple accounts is you can kind of spread yourself maybe not successfully in all moments, but you really get exposed to a ton more characters. And I love the fact that I can get to champions and it's like, wow, that's pretty nice. And I kind of go for it. So we are not, we're going to keep rolling, just kind of see how we can do. And this is a team that I know at a certain point, I'll probably drop them down 2 levels and just let them run. And that way we'll get artifacts. We have dungeon divers credit that we'll acquire as well. So wherever you can double dip will be a good one. You may look up and pull some shards as well. So you can take those, kind of do your upgrades. And I think with each account, you kind of look at, this is a time I can run and use those resources. Now, there are some things coming up next week as well. So pacing yourself this time of year is going to be a big one. I would love to know, for everyone that started an account in January, where are you now? Like, what is your progress looking like? Have you had a champion really stick out to you that you didn't expect? I've never played with Doom Screech before this account. A Veer Alchemage, I was sure to actually keep on purpose. Of course, some new champions. Ronda was a good champion from the go. I think probably last year, the top champion to get on your account was probably still Ultimate Death Knight. Across the board, a progress champion that is most helpful. Now, I did have Deacon Armstrong on this account, and I know he's a good champion, but I have him on another account, and he is much more, he's much more productive. It's different. Like when I say honestly, you can feel around you that who is surrounding every champion is important. So every slot on your team is a big one. And because we're in the midst of, you can swap gear as well right now, it's a great time to kind of get that in as well. A couple of these I'm going to keep just because I know I have a couple of champions that don't have any additional rings, accessories. So I want to get those in. So I'm going to run as far as I can on this one. Now, while we are running this particular account, here's something else I was thinking of. When you are chasing fragments, when you decide you're going to pull it all in for a champion, do you have a particular approach? Do you normally instantly use campaign as your main? Are you using dungeons as your main attempt? I know that you're directed to particular areas, but in your mind, are you thinking specific teams that you've already kind of adjusted based on the release of news a few days before? Or are you just going into each tournament competition area, fragment chase with the same, tried and true team approach? Hey, I'm going to build that champion for this particular reason and keep it going. That's always a thought. And needless to say, the spider does not love our boy champion. I mean, the number of poisons we got going here. So yeah, my boy going down is not a shock on this particular team. But overall, they are still doing really good. We're up to level 4. So can't beat that one. Okay. Getting a little drop. The flat stat rings I will hold on to until another date, to be honest. Every now and then I'm forced to just go with it, but for the most part, I am in love with the percentage when it comes to all gear that I'm adding to my champion. Now, here's another one. Since we're going to get these new and improved versions of our starter champions, have you picked what order you're most concerned with? Like, are you going to reserve resources and wait just for a particular champion? Are you going to go for all 4? I'm kind of torn. I know that Kale is on my original account. He was my starter champion. I've actually created enough accounts that I have used all of the starter champions. And I'll be honest, I was most surprised with the performance of Galek out of all of my starter champions. I knew that Kale was good. I had watched and done enough research on him. And, so many people still talk about his skill, how far into the game he's used. But the other thing I've learned since starting this particular platform is When it comes to Elhain and Aethel, I think they are much more useful at a later point. They're good. Like when I had my Aethel team, and I mean, we made progress. Girl will hold it down, just one bar away from death. It was really good. It took me a lot longer to figure out how to gear Elhain to get out of her what I wanted. So she was my learning the most kind of champion. And I like those moments. There are a lot of champions that really push me to go back, reread, and kind of focus myself. Now, this is a little bit better. So we see a little 4-star here, getting some percentages. Liking that one. Would love a shard to pop up. That would be great as well. Nice to get past the stage 4. Sometimes I forget dungeons, just running campaign. And once I make it to brutal or nightmare, I am just pushing just to, because you're running so much food. So you're going to run where you can get it done in a couple of seconds. And this kind of falls by the wayside. But I want to push as far as I can. I would love this year to complete dungeons. That's kind of a push for me. It's something I have not done, even just overall, just have not. I think the most I've closed on defeated on an account at the moment is like 3. And they get up there, You realize how much you've improved when you can go back and run level 25 and it's like, I can put that on multi-battle and walk away. And you're just winning. So that's how there's progress. Other than that, this is just kind of what, for me, the game is going to look like for the next couple of days, just grinding in and trying to get as much done. I'm going to use all of my multi-battles when I figure out what level I want to do that in, double check where my tournament points or stats are kind of going before you set your multi-battle and walk away. Run a couple of battles, then go back out and double check that what you are doing is actually being applied to the area of the game that you wanted to. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have literally ran 200 battles, just, going in thinking I'm going to acquire all these artifacts. This is what I need. It should calculate out to about this many points and I'll be in this spot. To realize that number one, I am running in the wrong area. I am either getting half the points or no points at all for what I'm doing. Just devastated. I have more than once set my auto battles, not double checked the number of stars or the requirements, and ran 100 multi battles, just wasted. Or I thought I was running multi battle, so I walk away and do other things, only to find out that I didn't click, and I have either been losing the entire time, so not even receiving the rewards that I anticipated, or I lost and I just stopped. So for the last 2 hours, and I'm thinking, oh, let me go check in and restart the other side. No, I've been sitting after battle 1. It's little things. You are not alone. But let me know how you plan on addressing your chase. Which champions have you acquired lately that kind of intrigue you because you haven't seen them perhaps in the game or heard too much about them? And then, hey, all right. Oh, before you go, we made it to stage 6. That was our defeat, and we're looking across the board. So, and honestly, he's a 3-star doing just as much damage as my 5-star. So I am kind of intrigued. I guess maybe he can align himself here. Not very much defense in this thing, but I'm going to come out to stage selection. At least we made the stage 4. We're number 4 in the tournament. Probably on a lot of people pushing. I can go down a level. And what I'm going to do, because this is going to take probably all of them, continue the multi-battle, even when they hit, we'll leave that one checked. I will enable my super raids. I do not replenish. When I run out of energy, I want it to stop. That is just a go at this point. I'm going to drop this down. So anything, let's just say 3-star or better, because of the level dungeon that we're running. Don't forget the level, guys. If I'm running for gear, that makes a huge difference. But for anything else, drop it down as low as you can. You're not taking 1 or 2-star, because most of that at this point you would trash. And then once everybody's ran through, which they're not going to, we should be pretty good. So this is kind of how this is going to go. I will run these battles until they finish out. go back in, work my Doom Tower, Faction Wars, do my Demon Lord. And then once you work that side, double check your artifacts. So you just kind of do a rotation. You want to make sure you're hitting the areas that you need to. And don't forget, you can always run arena. Most of us have more coins than you know what to do with. To be honest, don't feel bad when they start to expire because you're just not getting to them. It is going to happen quite a bit. If you end up eventually either winning enough tournaments or having to run enough battles through tag team as well as classic, you're going to end up with tons of coins just doing quests and even login bonuses. So, and there are some days you just literally don't go into the area, so everything kind of piles up for you. Take it one step at a time and you'll be fine. I'll update you guys in a little bit. Let me know how you're doing on the fragment summons. And if you stayed this long, 22WK, go ahead and join our clan. We would love to have you guys. And of course, as always, happy gaming.